President Daniel Kaine walked to the podium at the United Nations building in New York. The massive hall was packed with leaders from every country on Earth. Cameras from around the world pointed at him as he prepared to speak about humanity's first contact with alien life. "My fellow humans," Daniel began, his voice carrying across the silent room. "Today we stand at the beginning of a new chapter for our species. The messages we received from space 3 months ago have changed everything. We thought we knew about our place in the universe." The president had spent weeks preparing this speech. Scientists and military experts had worked together to create humanity's first official response to the alien signals. The creatures calling themselves the Galactic Confederation had sent peaceful greetings, but they had also made it clear that Earth was expected to follow certain rules. Daniel looked out at the faces watching him. He saw hope in some eyes, fear in others. "We will not bow down to anyone," he said firmly. "Human dignity is not negotiable." At that exact moment, a bright blue light filled the entire assembly hall. The light was so intense that people covered their eyes and screamed. Security guards rushed forward, but they could not move through the strange energy that now surrounded the president. The blue beam lifted Daniel Kaine off the ground. He struggled against the invisible force, but his arms and legs would not obey him. His last words before vanishing were heard by millions of people watching around the world. "Remember who we are." Then he was gone. Only burned marble remained, where the President of the United States had been standing moments before. Chaos erupted in the assembly hall. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Security personnel ran in all directions, speaking frantically into their radios. Outside, air raid sirens began wailing across New York City. Admiral Lisa Grant was in the Pentagon when the news reached her. She had been in a meeting about space defense when her aide burst through the door. "Admiral, the president has been taken. Alien abduction. Live on television." Lisa felt her blood turn cold. She had feared something like this might happen. The alien messages had seemed too polite, too controlled. Now she knew why. "Get me every general, every admiral, every commander we have," she ordered. "And get me the leaders of every other military on Earth. We have work to do." Within an hour, the Pentagon's main situation room was filled with the most powerful military minds on the planet. General Robert Kim from South Korea sat next to Field Marshal Jean Dubois from France. Commander Singh from India spoke quietly, with General Petrov from Russia. For the first time in history, every major military force was working together. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Grant began, "we are now at war." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what those words meant. Colonel Jake Murphy stood up. He was in charge of the Space Defense Initiative, a secret program that had been building experimental spacecraft since the first alien signals arrived. "Admiral, our deep space sensors are tracking a massive fleet beyond Jupiter. At least 50 ships, all much larger than anything we have." Dr. Alex Rivera, the government's top expert on alien life, had been studying the abduction footage frame by frame. "I have analyzed their transmission method," he reported. "The technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows patterns we can understand. They are not magic. They are just very far ahead of us." "How far ahead?" Admiral Grant asked. "Maybe 1,000 years, maybe more." The room grew quiet again. 1,000 years seemed impossible to overcome. Then Captain Maria Santos spoke up. She commanded the Raptor Squadron, 12 experimental fighter craft that could operate in space. "Admiral, with respect, I think they made a mistake." "Explain." "They took our leader, but they did it in front of the whole world. Every human being on Earth saw what happened. They wanted to scare us into surrendering." Admiral Grant nodded slowly. "But humans don't surrender when they're scared. We get angry." "Exactly. They studied our technology, our governance, our military capabilities. But I don't think they studied our psychology. Dr. Rivera pulled up files on his computer. Captain Santos is right. I have been reading their messages carefully. They keep talking about civilized behavior and peaceful integration. They seem to believe that advanced societies are naturally peaceful. Are they wrong? General Kim asked. They are wrong about us, Dr. Rivera replied. Humans evolved as hunters. We are cooperative when we need to be, but we are also competitive and aggressive. We solve problems by fighting them, not by avoiding them. Admiral Grant walked to the large screen showing the alien fleet. The ships looked sleek and elegant, like works of art floating in space. They think they know us because they have been watching our television and internet, but they don't understand what makes us human. Colonel Murphy opened a classified file. Admiral, Project Prometheus is ready to begin Phase 1. Project Prometheus was Earth's secret response to alien contact. For 3 months, while diplomats had been sending polite messages to the Galactic Confederation, military engineers had been converting civilian spacecraft into weapons of war. Mining ships became battleships. Communication satellites became spy networks. Even the International Space Station had been secretly armed. How many ships do we have? Admiral Grant asked. 47 combat-capable vessels, with more being completed every day. They are not as advanced as the alien ships, but they are built by humans for humans. Captain Santos smiled. Admiral, my pilots are ready. We know we might not come back from this fight, but no alien is going to keep our president. The meeting continued for 6 hours. Plans were made, resources were allocated, and messages were sent to resistance groups around the world. By the time the sun set over Washington, humanity was no longer the same species that had been giving speeches about peaceful cooperation. 3 hours after President Kane's abduction, the Galactic Confederation sent another message to Earth. The transmission was cold and formal. The primitive leader of the species called humans has been taken for evaluation and possible rehabilitation. Your species will be contacted when we have determined whether you are suitable for membership in civilized galactic society. Admiral Grant read the message aloud to her staff. When she finished, the room was completely silent. Then she smiled. Gentlemen and ladies, she said, they just made their second mistake. The first mistake was taking our president. The second mistake was calling us primitive. She turned to face the room full of military leaders from around the world. Let's show them what primitive means. The news of President Kane's kidnapping spread across Earth like fire in dry grass. In every major city, people gathered in the streets. They were not crying or hiding in fear. They were angry. In New York City, factory workers left their jobs and marched to recruitment centers. In London, engineers volunteered to work on secret military projects. In Tokyo, computer programmers began creating new software for space combat. All across the planet, humans were doing something the aliens had never seen before. They were getting ready for war. Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams stood in the underground bunkers beneath Colorado. These hidden facilities had been built during the Cold War, but now they served a new purpose. Pete was in charge of Project Prometheus, the secret program that would turn Earth into a fortress. How many volunteers do we have? Pete asked his assistant. 12 million so far, sir. And the number keeps growing every hour. Pete shook his head in amazement. 12 million people had volunteered for military service in just 2 days. Most of them had never been soldiers before. They were teachers, doctors, farmers, and store clerks. But they all wanted to help bring their president home. Engineer Rosa Martinez worked 20 hours a day in the orbital shipyards above Earth. She was converting mining vessels into warships, but this was not easy work. The ships had been designed to dig through asteroids, not fight alien spacecraft. We need more armor plating, Rosa told her team. These ships were built for safety, not for battle. Her workers had found a solution. They were taking steel from old buildings and melting it down to create armor. Car factories were now making spaceship parts instead of automobiles. Even scrap metal from junkyards was being turned into weapons. Rosa wiped sweat from her face as she welded another gun mount onto a converted cargo ship. If they want to see primitive, she said to herself, we will show them what human creativity can do. Far out in space, the alien fleet waited beyond Jupiter. Supreme Mediator Zelthir of the Vortex species watched the human response with confusion. His crystal-like body glowed with different colors as his emotions changed. I do not understand their behavior, Zelthir said to his council. Previous species either surrendered immediately or tried to negotiate. These humans are doing neither. Perhaps they do not understand the situation, suggested Advisor Kethmel. They are primitive. Maybe they think they can actually fight. Sir Zelthir studied the reports from his observation ships. They are converting their entire industrial system into a war machine. In just 3 days, they have tripled their military spacecraft production. This is not the behavior of a primitive species. It is the behavior of an insane species, Kethmel replied. No rational beings would challenge the Galactic Confederation. But Zelthir was beginning to suspect that rationality might not be humanity's strongest quality. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Brooks worked in secret laboratories deep underground. She was studying pieces of alien technology that had been left behind when President Kane was taken. The abduction beam had left traces of advanced materials that human scientists had never seen before. Their technology is incredible, Dr. Brooks reported to Admiral Grant. But it follows rules that we can learn. They use energy patterns that are very efficient, but also very predictable. Can we copy it? Admiral Grant asked. Not exactly, but we can understand it well enough to fight. Their ships are built for exploration and diplomacy, not for war. I think they have forgotten how to build weapons. This was important news. The Galactic Confederation had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years through superior technology and careful diplomacy. They had never needed to fight a real war. Captain Tony Nash and his team of former NASA engineers were launching new satellites every few hours. To the aliens watching from space, these looked like normal weather and communication satellites. The aliens did not pay attention to them, but these satellites were not normal. Each one contained powerful sensors and radio equipment. They were creating a network around Earth that would let human forces communicate and coordinate their attacks. Tony smiled as he watched another satellite disappear into the night sky. The aliens had no idea what was coming in small towns and big cities. Alike, ordinary people were joining the war effort in their own ways. Farmers organized food supply lines to feed the growing military. Factory workers learned how to build spacecraft parts. High school students created computer viruses designed to attack alien technology. Mary Johnson was a secretary in a small town in Kansas. She had never been in the military, but she wanted to help. She organized the women in her town to sew uniforms and pack supplies for soldiers. Our president needs us, she told her neighbors. We are all soldiers now. In Detroit, former car workers were building spaceship engines. In Seattle, software engineers were writing programs for space combat. In Miami, boat builders were learning how to make spacecraft hulls. All across America and all across the world, humans were working together like never before. The aliens had made a serious mistake. They thought that taking Earth's official leader would leave humanity without direction. Instead, they had created millions of leaders. Every person on Earth now felt personally responsible for bringing President Kane home. Admiral Grant stood in the Pentagon's main control room, watching. Reports come in from around the world. The numbers were staggering. Human military production had increased by 500% in just 1 week. Volunteer soldiers were being trained faster than ever before in history, and new weapons were being designed and built every day. Admiral? Colonel Murphy reported, "We have confirmed the location of their main fleet. 57 ships, holding position near Jupiter. They seem to be waiting for us to surrender." Any word from the president? Nothing yet. But our deep space sensors have detected some interesting signals. We think he might be on their command ship. Admiral Grant nodded. How long until our fleet is ready? 2 weeks for the first wave. 4 weeks for the main assault force. That's too long. The president has been their prisoner for 8 days already. We need to move faster. Captain Santos entered the control room. Her Raptor squadron had been training nonstop for space combat. "Admiral, my pilots are ready now. We don't need to wait for the big ships. Let us show them what human pilots can do." Admiral Grant considered this. The Raptor squadron's ships were small and fast, but they were no match for alien battleships in direct combat. However, they might be perfect for a different kind of mission. "Captain, how would you feel about a reconnaissance mission? Get close to their fleet, gather intelligence, maybe rescue the president if you get the chance." Captain Santos grinned. "Admiral, my pilots have been asking for exactly that mission since day one." "Then get ready. You launch in 48 hours. As Captain Santos left to prepare her squadron, Admiral Grant turned back to the strategic displays. In 2 days, humans would make their first attack against an alien fleet. It would be a small attack, but it would send a clear message to the Galactic Confederation. Humanity was coming for their president, and they were coming ready for war. Captain Maria Santos checked her instruments one final time. Her Raptor fighter was hidden behind a large asteroid, along with 11 other human spacecraft. They had traveled for 3 weeks to reach this position near Jupiter, where the alien fleet waited in perfect formation. "All pilots, this is Raptor 1, Maria spoke into her radio. "Remember, we are not here to win a space battle. We are here to learn about our enemy and rescue our president if we can." Lieutenant Brad Cooper in Raptor 7 responded first. "Copy that, Captain. My sensors are picking up energy signatures from their ships. They are definitely more advanced than ours." "But advanced does not mean better," added Lieutenant Nancy Reed in Raptor 4. "My grandfather always said that fancy tools are useless if you don't know how to fight." Maria smiled. Nancy's grandfather had been a Marine in World War II. He would have understood this mission perfectly. The alien fleet consisted of 57 ships, arranged in a perfect circle around one massive vessel. The ships were beautiful, like silver sculptures floating in space. They did not look like warships at all. They looked like art. "Raptor Squadron, begin approach. Stay in formation and keep your weapons powered down. Let's see how they react." To visitors, the 12 human fighters moved toward the alien fleet at low speed. They made no attempt to hide. Maria wanted the aliens to see them coming. On the Vorthic command ship, Supreme Mediator Zelther watched the approaching human craft with interest. "They are very small," he observed, "and they appear to be unarmed. Should we destroy them?" Asked Advisor Kefmal. "No. Let us see what they want. Perhaps they have come to negotiate for their leader's release." This was the aliens' third mistake. They assumed the humans were coming to talk. As the Raptor squadron got closer, Maria could see details of the alien ships. They were covered in smooth metal that reflected starlight like mirrors. There were no visible weapons or armor. The aliens had built these ships for exploration, not for war. "All pilots, record everything," Maria ordered. "Command needs to know what we are dealing with." Suddenly, a voice spoke in perfect English over their radio. Human spacecraft. You are entering Galactic Confederation space without permission. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Maria took a deep breath. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth Defense Force. We are here to discuss the release of President Daniel Kane." "That is not possible. Your leader is undergoing necessary rehabilitation. You will return to your planet immediately." "I'm afraid that's not going to happen," Maria replied. "We want to see our president now." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice spoke again, sounding confused. "You are in no position to make demands. Your small craft pose no threat to this fleet." Lieutenant Cooper laughed over the radio. "They really don't understand us, do they?" "Raptor Squadron," Maria said calmly, "execute Plan Alpha." The 12 human fighters suddenly scattered in all directions. They moved in patterns that the aliens had never seen before. Instead of flying in straight lines or gentle curves, they twisted and spun through space like dancers. The alien ships tried to follow them, but their movements were slow and predictable. They had been designed for efficiency, not for combat. "Maneuvering. What are they doing?" Zelther demanded. "This makes no tactical sense." But Maria's pilots were not trying to make tactical sense. They were using human intuition and creativity. Lieutenant Reed flew her fighter directly under an alien ship, so close that she could have reached out and touched it. Lieutenant Cooper performed the barrel roll around another ship's sensor array. The aliens were completely confused. They had never encountered pilots who used emotion and instinct instead of logic and calculation. "Now," Maria ordered. Each human fighter fired a single missile, but these were not explosive weapons. They were boarding pods, designed to attach to alien hulls and cut through the metal. 12 pods slammed into 12 different alien ships. Before the aliens could react, human soldiers were cutting their way inside. Lieutenant Commander Rick Thompson had trained for this moment for months. He led the boarding team that attacked the alien command ship. His soldiers moved through the corridors like ghosts, using their knowledge of human psychology to predict where the aliens would be. "These ships are not designed for defense," Rick reported over his radio. The aliens never expected anyone to board them. The Vorthic crew was in complete panic. They had never been attacked before. They had no idea how to fight off invaders. Rick and his team found the bridge quickly. Supreme Mediator Zelther was there, his crystal body glowing bright red with fear. "Where is President Kane?" Rick demanded, pointing his weapon at the alien. "Leader, this is madness," Zelther protested. "You cannot simply board our ships and make demands. This is not how civilized beings behave." "You kidnapped our leader," Rick replied. "We stopped being civilized the moment you did that." Meanwhile, other boarding teams were searching the rest of the fleet. Lieutenant Amy Foster led the team that found President Kane on a smaller vessel. He was in some kind of medical facility, surrounded by strange alien equipment. "Mr. President," Amy said as she cut through his restraints, "we're here to take you home." Daniel Kane was weak but conscious. "About time," he said with a tired smile. "I was starting to think you people had forgotten about me." "Sir, the whole planet has been working to get you back. We've turned Earth into a fortress and built a space fleet. The aliens have no idea what they've started." Back on the command ship, Rick was still questioning Zelther. "Why did you take our president?" "Your species is too aggressive," the alien replied. "You needed to be taught proper behavior. Your leader was being prepared to guide you toward peace. You tried to change him? We tried to improve him." Rick felt anger rising in his chest. "You tried to turn him into something he's not. You tried to make him like you." "Yes, this is how primitive species are integrated into the Confederation." Rick looked around the alien bridge. Everything was clean, organized, and peaceful. There were no weapons, no armor, no signs of conflict anywhere. These aliens had created a perfect, safe, boring universe. "I have news for you," Rick said. "We don't want to be integrated. We don't want to be improved. We want to be left alone." "That is not possible," Zelther insisted. "Aggressive species must be controlled." Rick smiled. "You're about to learn why that's a bad idea." Captain Santos had been listening to the radio chatter from the boarding teams. President Kane was safe, and her pilots had gathered valuable intelligence about alien ship design. It was time to leave. "All teams, return to your fighters. We have what we came for." As the human soldiers withdrew from the alien ships, Maria noticed something interesting. The aliens were not pursuing them. They were not even trying to stop them from leaving. "They really don't know how to fight," she reported to Admiral Grant. "They have the technology to destroy us, but they don't have the will." The Raptor Squadron returned to Earth with President Kane and detailed information about the alien fleet. The mission had been a complete success, but more importantly, it had revealed the Confederation's greatest weakness. They had forgotten how to be warriors. 50,000 years of peace had made them soft. Humanity was about to remind them what war looked like. President Daniel Kane stood in the Pentagon briefing room, looking healthier than he had in months. The alien medical equipment had actually improved his physical condition, but his spirit was exactly the same as when he had been taken. "Mr. President," Admiral Grant said, "we are ready to launch the final attack, but we wanted your approval first." Daniel looked around the room at the military leaders who had worked so hard to rescue him. "Admiral, what exactly are you planning to do to them?" Colonel Murphy activated the holographic display. It showed the alien fleet, still waiting near Jupiter. "Sir, we have built a fleet of 200 ships. They are not as advanced as the alien vessels, but we have advantages they don't understand. Such as, we know how to fight. They don't." Daniel nodded slowly. "I spent 3 months as their prisoner. They kept trying to make me more civilized. They believe that advanced species should be peaceful and cooperative. They cannot understand why we refuse to surrender." Dr. Rivera spoke up. "Mr. President, we have analyzed their psychology extensively. The Galactic Confederation has ruled through superior technology and diplomatic pressure for 50,000 years. They have never faced real resistance. They are like a person who has never been in a fight," Captain Sanctus added. "They have all the best equipment, but no idea how to use it when someone hits back." President Kane smiled. "Then let's teach them what happens when you kidnap a human leader." 3 days later, the human fleet approached the alien ships near Jupiter. Admiral Grant commanded from the bridge of the battleship Liberty, which had been built from 3 converted mining vessels welded together. It was not beautiful like the alien ships, but it was strong and practical. "All ships, this is Admiral Grant. Today, we finish what they started. Remember, we are not trying to destroy them. We are trying to teach them a lesson." The human fleet consisted of ships that no alien could have imagined. There were battleships made from mining equipment, fighters built in car factories, and weapons created by farmers and factory workers. Every ship was different, designed by humans who understood that creativity beats perfection. Supreme Mediator Zelther watched the approaching fleet with growing panic. "There are so many of them," he told his council. "How did they build so many ships so quickly?" "They converted their entire industrial system," Advisor Kethmel replied. "Every factory, every shipyard, every manufacturing facility is now building warships. That is impossible. No civilized species would do such a thing." But Zelther was beginning to understand that humans were not civilized in the way his people understood the word. The battle began when Captain Santos led her expanded Raptor Squadron against the alien fighters. The human pilots used the same unpredictable tactics that had worked during the rescue mission. But now they had weapons designed specifically for alien technology. Lieutenant Cooper fired the first shot, an electromagnetic pulse that disabled an alien ship's engines. Lieutenant Reed followed with a hacking missile that took control of another ship's computers. Within minutes, 12 alien fighters were floating helplessly in space. "This is not how space combat works," Zelther protested to his military advisor. "They are using impossible tactics." "Sir, I do not think they care about what is possible." Commander Rick Thompson led the boarding teams again, but this time he had 300 soldiers instead of 12. They attacked 15 alien ships simultaneously, using techniques that the Confederation had never seen. The human soldiers did not try to capture the ships. Instead, they sabotaged the engines, disabled the weapons, and left. They were sending a message: "We can take your ships apart whenever we want to." Engineer Rosa Martinez commanded a squadron of converted cargo ships that surrounded the alien command vessel. Her ships were slow and clumsy, but they carried the most powerful weapons humanity had ever built. "Alien command ship," Rosa broadcast. "This is Engineer Martinez of the Earth Defense Force. You have one chance to surrender." "Surrender?" "Zelther." Voice crackled over the radio. "You are primitive beings with inferior technology. You cannot defeat the Galactic Confederation." "We already have," Rosa replied. "Look around you." Zelther did look around. Half of his fleet was disabled. His remaining ships were surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. His perfect military formation had been torn apart by enemies who refused to follow any rules. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No," Rosa said. "This is human." Dr. Helen Brooks was aboard one of the science ships, studying the alien technology. In real time, "Admiral Grant," she reported, "I have found something interesting. The aliens have a central control system. If we can access it, we can disable their entire fleet at once." "Do it." Dr. Brooks had spent months learning how alien computers worked. Now she used that knowledge to hack into their main system. It was surprisingly easy. The aliens had never considered that someone might try to break into their networks. "I'm in," she reported. "Admiral, I can shut down every alien ship in the fleet." "Wait," President Kane's voice came over the radio. He was aboard the Liberty, watching the battle from the command center. "Dr. Brooks, can you access their communication system?" "Yes, sir." "Then patch me through to every ship in their fleet. And make sure every alien in the galaxy can hear this message." "President." Kane's voice was broadcast across the alien fleet and transmitted to every world in the Galactic Confederation. "My name is Daniel Kane, President of the United States of America and representative of the human species. 3 months ago, you kidnapped me because you thought my people needed to be taught how to behave." His voice was calm but filled with power. "You were wrong. We do not need to be taught. We do not need to be improved. We do not need to be integrated into your confederation. You made the mistake of thinking that peaceful means weak. You assumed that advanced means superior. You believed that your way was the only way. Today, you have learned differently. We rescued our leader from your most secure facility. We defeated your fleet with ships built by ordinary people. We hacked your computers with technology you thought was primitive. But we are not here to destroy you. We are here to give you a choice. Leave Earth alone, and we will leave you alone. Continue to interfere with humanity, and you will discover that we have barely begun to show you what we can do." The alien fleet was completely silent. Across the galaxy, millions of beings listened to the human president's words. "You have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. President Kane continued. "You have brought peace and order to countless worlds. But you have also brought stagnation. You have made every species the same. You have forgotten that diversity makes strength. Humanity will not be made the same. We will remain human. We will be aggressive when we need to be. We will be creative when others follow rules. We will be stubborn when everyone else gives up. This is our nature. This is who we are. And this is who we will always be. Zelther finally responded, his voice small and defeated. What do you want from us? Nothing, President Kane replied. We want you to leave us alone. We want you to stop trying to control species that do not wish to be controlled. We want you to remember that there is more than one way to be civilized. The Galactic Confederation fleet began to withdraw. Ship by ship, they turned away from Earth and headed back toward the center of the galaxy. Humanity had won not by destroying their enemies, but by proving that some things are worth fighting for. They had shown the galaxy that strength comes not from superior technology, but from the refusal to surrender what makes you who you are. And across the galaxy, other species began to remember what they had been before the Confederation made them all the same.